Yes! Remake! Remake!
Rob Zombie, where you at?
I think I remember this part being, like, brutal. Like the aftermath.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Boo.
Yeah, that was stupid.
Rob Zombie unleashes a unique vision
Oh, no.
of a legendary tale.
Trailer voices. This is like peak trailer voice.
They said it's a unique vision, but, like, is it, though?
It's just edgy. I feel like when I was talking in the Dark Knight review about directors who got the tone of his trilogy wrong in their movies, I feel like this is one of those movies.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and the little girl that was in Halloween 4 and 5 is in this movie, like, as a teenager.
And she's naked, and it's weird. It's like, I saw you as a child, like, 4 movies ago.
Yeah.
It's just not right. I think if I cast her based on the fact that I saw her as a child in a movie, I probably wouldn't want her to be naked in mine.
Yeah.
It's just weird, dude. What are you doing,
Well,
Rob?
Rob Zombie's metal as shit, so...
Yeah. Gotta be metal. My bad.
Love hurts, love scars, love wounds.
Enough of this Michael Myers bullshit!
Okay, let's talk about Halloween. No, not that movie called Halloween, and not that movie with the same exact title either. No, let's talk about Halloween.
This is the most metal shit I have ever seen in my life. Rob Zombie, you heavy metal motherfucker. This movie is fucking wild for no reason.
No one really likes this movie for the most part, besides people who like Rob Zombie's brand of edgy metal and garishness. I'm not one of them. His films follow trashy, unlikable people, and not in the Sean Baker way either. These people are the worst. They're disgusting, they're annoying, and they're unwatchable.
That is some deep-ass, serious, faggoty-ass shit, man.
Judith, I'm gonna be late.
Judith, I'm gonna be late.
And it's not to show some side of America that we never get to see in films, it's just because. Although this film gets a lot of shit, for the first time in 20 years, a Halloween film has some redeeming qualities about it. I thought the still shot at the crime scene was well done, even though the camera work wasn't really smooth at the end. There is no storytelling device that is that surreal or film specific in any of the films up until this point.
This movie dives deep into the past of Michael to see how he developed into this insane psychopath. And although it gets really fucking dumb, I do appreciate this sequence. I liked learning about the household that Michael was raised in, and I thought it was super interesting.
Laurie Strode and the kids actually have good chemistry together. They definitely felt more alive than in the original, comparatively. It makes the babysitting in the original look boring and a slog to get through, because it was. And although I do like this aspect of the film, Laurie and her friends are straight out of a Robot Chicken skit.
I heard about your little cheerleading incident.
Yeah, I'm totally famous.
You're totally a slut.
Keep the change! Foreign cabbies rock the fare with $7. I totally gave him 10, and that's awesome because immigrants need money. Woohoo!
Anyway, today in class, in French class, Mr. Leclerc was totally flirting with me.
Here
we were
we go.
conjugating the verb to want.
Because he's so want you.
Oh
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Woohoo! Mom's mashed potatoes are the greatest. There's some carrots and peas in there too. Mom and Dad aren't fighting tonight, and that's awesome. I already finished my homework. It rocks. Woohoo!
No,
Fine.
that's not. I meant you need.
Annie.
Yes, Annie. Okay.
I mean, the lines between who's innocent and who's not are a lot more blurred than the original, but they're also kind of obnoxious. Especially Danielle Harris's character, which works even less because the last time we saw her in a Halloween film, she was literally a child, which is something we'll get to in a little bit. And the only other thing that I liked about this film was Michael falling into the leaves in the pool at the end because it was a callback to his first kill in the movie, which will segue perfectly into my negatives because there are so many kills in this movie. Too much, actually. I'm not someone who gets weird if a film is too violent. John Carpenter's Halloween has a kill in the first couple of minutes of the movie. But here, it feels gratuitous, and at a certain point, it doesn't faze you, and you don't care about whether anyone lives or dies. I don't think that's a good way to go about a horror film at all, because you can't get scared if you don't care about what happens. At a certain point in the movie, you feel like every character exists to die, and there's nothing engaging about that at all.
The unrated version of this film contains a brutal and unnecessary fucking rape scene that is put in the film for no reason. It is absolutely absurd. If you watch this film, try to avoid this scene because it will make you sick to your stomach, unless you are Brett Kavanaugh.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that suicide that's 38 minutes into the movie. There's so many things to say about this scene. Typically, people who commit suicide are past the tears, so when she's crying here, it doesn't feel like she needs to take her own life. It feels like she has a lot more to live for, and it just rings as inauthentic to me, and I don't believe anything going on in this scene. It feels so cliched. I really can't find another example of this exact scene where someone is crying and looking at a gun in their hands before they shoot themselves off camera, but it definitely feels like a cliche. Beyond that, there's just a lot of small things that are really weird, like the MAGA kitchen scene is literally the second scene in the movie, and it feels like the movie hits you directly in the face. Look at how edgy this is.
Maybe I'll choke the chicken, purge my snorkel all over them flappy ass tits.
Good. We'll have a good fucking time.
I will.
I hope she likes cripples.
Bitch, I will crawl over there and I will skull fuck the shit out of you. That's all that fucker does is cry. Crying shit, crying shit. Oh, what's the matter? You jealous of your own daughter's ass, huh?
Big.
Ah! You fucking whore! All right, now clean it up.
You leave him alone. Keep your hands off him.
Give me a fucking break. He's probably a queer. He's gonna grow up, end up cutting his dick and balls off and changing his name to Michelle.
Elvis.
The kid from Spy Kids is cast as a homophobe in this movie, and it's weird. There's another questionable casting choice in Danielle Harris, as I mentioned before, as the Speed Kills girl from the original. The last time we saw her in the Halloween movies, she was a child, and when she makes her return to the series, she's the actor with the most on-screen nudity in the film. It made me feel so icky. And when you're making males between an 18 and 32 age range icky about nudity, I feel like that's kind of a problem. Moving on from the pedophilic implications of that whole situation, the first time we hear the Halloween theme in this film, young Michael is running so awkwardly that I laughed out loud. Yeah, this is what I think of when I hear the Halloween theme. Awkward preteens awkwardly running. Yeah, metal. When Michael beats Junie from Spy Kids to death, he beats him with a big stick and he's bleeding from the ears and all over, but Michael never hit him in the face once? Are his preteen strikes so powerful people just ooze blood from every orifice? That death is just not well done overall. You really can't see a damn thing. And later in the film, his transition to killing everyone in the house was weird too. He makes the transition to go out trick-or-treating by himself to Love Hurts by Nazareth, and then starts eating candy corn until he feels like killing his abusers. There was no moment where he was like, okay, fuck this, I'm not taking it anymore. Not that anyone needed to do any more bad stuff to him, but I just wanted to see the wheels turning where he makes that decision. If you're gonna do an origin story type deal in the beginning of your movie, you might want to just follow through with that and not half-ass it. Beyond that, young Michael with the mask on is hilarious and not menacing at all. Why wasn't the knife or the mask taken by the police? How did he know to hide it? Why wasn't his hiding spot established earlier in the movie? Anyway, the only black guy in the movie is a cartoon straight out of the Boondocks, and there is this silly title for absolutely no reason. When the police arrive, for some reason they go to where Lori hides with the kids instead of the house where she called the police from. How did the cops know where she was? Wouldn't they have gone to where the call was placed? And where was Sheriff Brackett and the other cops when Loomis shot at Michael? Guns are hecka loud, especially in suburban neighborhoods where nothing is going on. This further proves my point that people in this movie exist to die.
After we learn about his past, we are placed into the same situations that were in the original, basically, with a little bit of a twist at the end.
The music here is more conventional to the 2000s horror trends while actually using most of the themes from the original. Some of it isn't good, and some of it's fine. Not nearly as offensive as every other Halloween sequel, but sometimes it's poorly used, like Michael running down the hallway as a 12-year-old. And Michael in this movie kind of doesn't work when he's an adult.
He is this huge hulking behemoth, and I do not understand why he's portrayed like this. Like, is he supposed to be intimidating? I feel like he would bring a lot of attention to himself.
The mask isn't perfect, but it's better than every other mask since 1981. I wish that his eyes were hidden because to me it makes no sense in this context. I guess Zombie was going for the idea that at this point we know him pretty well, but I think it would have been more interesting to hide his eyes from us because he's morphed into a shape that we're familiar with. But he's so far gone that he's not that mama's boy from the first 20 minutes of the movie. And what makes this Michael not work even more is that the movie tries to combine the actions of Rob Zombie's Michael Myers and John Carpenter's Michael Myers, and it doesn't work at all. He does things that John Carpenter's version does, like stalking and following Laurie, but Zombie's take is that he just walks in and doesn't give a shit and kills everyone. Even the theatrical stuff, like hanging bodies, is weird in this context, because it seemed to me that Zombie's Michael was more content in the act of killing itself, and when we see him just standing around, waiting, or hanging up bodies, it feels like it's just there to be there. And I'm giving Rob Zombie's Halloween a 4 out of 10.
It's fine. Nothing really worthwhile. Everything is just metal as fuck. You'll want to listen to Metallica after watching this movie, no lie. It is that freaking metal. The performances are all fine. Nothing really too awful besides what was stated before, but also nothing really too memorable either. I'm giving Halloween the remake a 5 out of 10.